AI, artificial intelligence, it's here. And by now, many of you have heard of it, used it, and or experimented with it. But for those of you that haven't or are still trying to figure out where does this flow into my life, today we're giving you a practical guide into how and when to be using this AI. Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video, and for today we're getting into discussions around artificial intelligence, that is AI. You would have seen from some of our previous videos we talked quite a bit about the likes of ChatGPT and that type of thing, but for today we decided to talk about the flurry of announcements that we have received around this AI in the last month or so, and it looks like a number of companies have decided to take the reins when trying to direct how the normal consumer or business is going to be making use of AI. So for today, we're looking at some of the practicalities. Nice to have the technology, but what does it mean on a day-to-day basis? How can you make use of it in your own life? As always, this video is brought to you by the team over at Lion Media. Head on over to check out some of the crispiest photo, video, and audio content. That's www.lionmedia.com. Head on over, check it out, and just see what the team can do for you. AI comes in many different forms, but for today we are specifically looking at the one that has been most hyped about in the last year, that is generative AI, and how some of the products and platforms that have been announced are going to help to shape the way that people adopt and or use the technology. In terms of breakdown and structure, we're going to be looking at four main areas when it comes to generative AI. We're going to be looking at enterprise applications or productivity. We're going to be looking at consumer devices, consumer on social media, and then, lastly, looking at how content production has been changed by the use of AI. Starting off with enterprise and productivity applications, one can really say that ChatGPT has done a lot into showing people what they can do in their day-to-day lives in terms of productivity and working when it comes to AI usage. But right now we stand at three, main uses that we tend to have. First, on the mass enterprise, that's what I'm going to call it. You look at what Microsoft, has been doing. They recently launched CoPilot into the public. That is basically, GPT. That's the underlying technology, for ChatGPT being put into, some of the main Microsoft platforms that people tend to use and operate with on a daily basis. Over the last few months, I've been playing around with Bing AI, and the concept is basically the same, that you are on a Microsoft platform and you have this section on the right side of the screen that gives you access, to those tools. You can ask that digital assistant, virtual assistant, chatbot, to do a number of different tasks, ask questions, that type of thing. So now they're baking that technology into Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. These applications are the three biggest that Microsoft has, because you can use them as businesses, you can use them as consumers. So the fact that they've started off, firstly with their Office 365 and, the paid package, for businesses, and then obviously all that is going to filter into the consumer platform, and, that's how people are going to be making use of it. Very interesting, because obviously that gives, that GPT and generative AI usage to a mass number of people, and you can easily start making use of it. You can direct the assistant to create tables for you in Excel and arrange pieces of information instead of having to input formulas like what we always would normally used to. So I think over time it's going to be a very interesting space, and probably one of the ways that people will easily start adopting and making use of generative AI. The second piece is a little bit similar, because with Microsoft, that it's a mass package. Anyone can go and get Microsoft off the shelf. But for companies that invest in bespoke systems, tailored systems for their specific businesses, it looks like there is a huge trend right now, towards baking in AI or generative AI into the platforms that they are creating for companies. SAP has actually introduced its own generative AI platform, and that is the idea, sort of similar to what Microsoft is doing, but this will be something that will be tailored specifically, to what a business wants to do. Of course, Microsoft can do the same. If a company comes and says they want something bespoke that's tailored to their business, but with SAP, we know that for them, they specifically tend to tailor towards specific business uses. So that's going to be an interesting way in which we will then be seeing companies themselves being the ones to lead how they want to make use of generative AI. The third batch has to do with what I call internal use platforms. I recently sat in on a session with the biggest listed technology group on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, that is the Naspers/Prosus group, and they've actually developed their own generative AI tool that is being used internally by their own employees as well as companies that are part of their portfolio. So it's an efficiency thing. It's a way to increase productivity, maybe check code for developers, and then it's used as a chatbot inside of programs like Slack, and then you can also help to generate images depending on what business you are in. So that's quite an interesting use, because there had been a debate of whether companies should allow AI usage, but in that particular case, you're definitely seeing a company encouraging that use, because they see that innovation is probably going to come from something like that. In terms of consumer devices, we need to think about these things, that is the smartphones, tablets, that type of thing. I would say that Siri was probably a pioneer in this space. Probably not the first virtual assistant, but it's the one that popularized the idea of being able to call an assistant, and then that assistant being able to perform a number of tasks on your device. But now all of that has evolved over time, because now people have have attached voices to the likes of ChatGPT, and that will be baked into what your phone can do. And also I think Google Assistant over time has probably become the most advanced with its ability to answer questions and the range of tasks that it can do, as well as Amazon's Alexa. But also now we also see other applications on devices, simple things that people do on a daily basis, such as taking photos. Now you have enhancements that are underpinned by AI. You can think of applications such as the ability to remove certain people and objects from the backgrounds of a photo, as well as the ability to suppress background noise on calls. These are all the different type of applications. And when you're thinking about it from that space, one really does need to wonder, what is a photo?
So very interesting this week. I wanted to make a comment. Obviously, we've seen that Apple released some new machines together with their M3 chip this week. But what was most interesting is that, unlike a lot of other device manufacturers, we actually didn't hear them talking about AI. They've actually been beating the drum quite a bit about AI and their capabilities over the last couple of months with the Software Developers Conference, as well as the iPhone 15 release and the like. So I actually found it interesting that where you are looking at a new chip that is scary fast, that they didn't say anything about AI. They said a lot about some of the industrial applications that are there. Perhaps this is something that I missed when I was watching, that presentation. But, just one of those, very interesting things, because chances are people will be using, some of these new M3 Max, as a way to process, some of these very intensive tasks that do have some applications when it comes to artificial intelligence.
The question of what is a photo helps us to then get to the next phase, which is around content production. We saw DALL-E, which is operated by OpenAI, as well as Midjourney, being two of the biggest platforms that started generating images when the whole generative AI thing really, took hold. But now all of that is getting mainstream usage. And now we see the same type of tools being implemented inside of creative software platforms, such as the ones operated by Adobe. Adobe has now got, AI capabilities inside of Photoshop, where it can generate, images for you, or fill in, certain gaps, for an image that you're trying to create or manipulate. And then secondly, on Premiere Pro, that is their main video editing software. It's my preferred, editor as well. We're now seeing that, generative AI is being used, where you can change, maybe a particular object just by typing in certain instructions, and then it's then implemented, throughout, the frames in the video. Very interesting tech. And much of this content that is being produced is going to be shared on the likes of social media. That's where we're likely going to be consuming some of the stuff. And it seems that the team at Meta, that is the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, has woken up to this particular fact. Mark Zuckerberg announcing a host of new tools that are going to be used inside of these different, applications. There have been different descriptions given to what Meta AI is, with it being described as a chatbot with personality, because they've actually given it personalities of different celebrities. That's one. Two, a chatbot inside some of these, main applications that Meta has. And that certainly takes the concept of Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant that we spoke about earlier on to that next level, especially when you see the announcement that Meta made around their Ray-Ban collaboration with the smart glasses. They had always had, that collaboration. I think it was announced over a year ago, but now it's been enhanced by the use of AI. You can get the voice assistant to do a number of different things for you. So as companies and consumers are making greater use of AI, so too are the bad actors, cyber criminals, and the hackers, and increasing their efficiency in terms of, studying things, putting together code. That's one particular use. The second one is what are called deep fakes. We've mentioned this before, the ability to replicate voices, images, and video to make people believe, that someone, is what they say they are. And that has a number of, different detrimental effects. On the one hand, I was sitting in a cybersecurity presentation recently with Trend Micro, and they highlighted something that they're calling harpoon whaling, where basically you make an executive, a CEO, a CFO believe, for example, that a loved one has been kidnapped by replicating a voice, image, or video of their loved one, and then they extort money out of you that way. On the other side of the same coin, they could impersonate that same executive, CFO, CEO, or whoever it is, making people in their company believe that they've sent particular instructions, maybe to make a payment. And these are all the different ways in which generative AI has been, a good thing, but, it could be turned into something, that is a little bit tough. Speaking of content production, it is interesting to note an announcement that came out of CNBC Africa. They're going to be having generated bulletins, modeled after one of their staff, that's going to be doing certain programming. We've seen this, in places like Asia, where certain news programming is actually being conducted by AI-based, avatars, that are virtually reporting on the news and that type of thing. So already we can see where a mainstream use of content production for video is already being made use of. So in conclusion, it does look like a number of companies have taken it upon themselves to actually direct how society, business, and consumers are actually going to be making use of generative AI. To be interesting to see, how the mass adoption actually works out. Will it be in the directions, that that are being pushed that we highlighted today, or will we be seeing other applications, popping up over time? You guys can let us what you know. Are you using, AI in your own life on a daily basis? What platforms are you using? What applications have you been using generative AI for? Are there any dangers? Have you experienced any of the hallucinations, that tend to come from, some of these platforms? Obviously, we'll be keeping an eye on developments over time. AI is something that we're particularly, interested in. You guys can let us know, what you think, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.
Hey, this is Baby G, and you're watching the Mob Justice channel. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Live it, love it, like it. This is the Mob Justice TV.